Hello, this is Samuel Guy in Hawaii, and this is Action Skill Cooldown and How Best to Minimize It Part 2. Part 1, I explained the basics and covered most of the gear and skills pre-Season 2 pass. Today we cover the new skill trees and a few items I missed during the first video. Now, this video assumes you have watched Part 1 and understand the basic cooldown formula and especially the concept of diminishing returns as it applies to boost the cooldown rate. I highly recommend you watch that video first if you have not already done so. In brief though, you need to understand that the more individual boosts to cooldown rate are utilized, the less each boost individually contributes to shortening cooldown. Okay, so first what I missed. The Phase Zerker class mod, which on action skill use maxes out Amara's rush stacks, grants Amara plus 1% increased cooldown rate per rush stack while increasing her max stacks by 5. I don't know how I missed this. This means almost any skill affecting rush stacks can affect cooldown when equipping this class mod. Awakening increases rush stack effectiveness by 10 to 30%, although I don't know if this affects the Phase Zerker buff. And Avatar increases Amara's maximum rush stacks by 10. Even ignoring Awakening with Restless maxed out, Avatar, and the added 39% passive on this Phase Zerker comm, Phase cast cooldown drops from 28 seconds to just under 13, and that's with Guardian rank off, so no topped off. I haven't done the exact math, which is tricky given that Phase Zerker rush stacks decay over time, but that's still significant. If you play Amara and have issues with cooldown, I would keep this in mind. The Loop of 4N631 or Angel Shield is a blue rarity shield that reduces action skill cooldown by plus 60% when depleted. It's a quest reward for completing the mission Childhood's End. We have to break our shield and keep it broken to get the perk. Now there are some specialized builds out there that do this. I think there's one utilizing Zane's Infiltrator class mod, which breaks his shield whenever he activates his action skill. In any case, we have to structure our build around this shield to get the benefit. And the biggest downside to using that shield is that, like many quest rewards, it does not come anointed, so we have to sacrifice an anointment to use it. That's everything I think I missed. Now for the new stuff. Every single Vault Hunter received at least one skill affecting cooldown in a positive way with the new purple skill trees. Actually, everyone except Flak received 2. Now some are constant, always on, some are conditional, some do actually both. Moes gain Nitro Trinadium engines and Limit Break. Okay, Nitro Trinadium engines, say that 5 times fast, is a tier 4 skill that conveys an always on 4 to 20% boost to action skill cooldown rate depending on how many points are invested in it. Similar to but not as effective as Amara's Restless, but it also grants extra fuel to the mech. Limit Break is a tier 5 temporary but stackable boost to cooldown rate that depends on inflicting status effects on enemies. It's a 4 to 12% boost for 12 seconds per status effect that can stack up to 10 times. So this depends on Moe's and Iron Bear's ability to proc status effects on a continual basis during cooldown. Fully stocked, this can increase cooldown rate by 120%. Now we are talking about proccing a status effect, not maintaining it. For the most part, only one status effect of a particular element from a specific source can exist on a target at any one time. Successful procs don't add more status effects, they just extend the duration of a pre-existing one. But we can proc a status effect as many times as we like. Any hit has a chance to do that. Explosive Fury can significantly increase Moe's ability to proc status effects. Now this doesn't negate the effects of diminishing returns described in the previous video, but 120% is a sizable amount, and a build which incorporates Limit Break can forego other cooldown rate boosts like passives on comms or artifacts or cooldown anointments. As long as we can proc status effects consistently during cooldown, it can free us up to select other passives or anointments. Now it requires us to go pretty deep into the purple tree, but can be seen as an alternative or complement to Grizzled, which requires actual kills. It also gives this nice little icon which tells us exactly how many stacks we have. Now Zane gained Commitment and Sheer Will plus the No Way Out augment. Commitment is a tier 2 skill that conveys an always on 40 to 20% boost to action skill cooldown rate depending on how many points are invested in it, just like Moses' Nitro Trinadium engines. Okay. Sheer Will is a tier 5 skill that conveys an always on 5 to 75% boost to action skill cooldown rate depending on how many points we are invested in. So, an additional boost on top of Commitment if we choose to take both. Additionally, Critting applies an additional 2.5% boost for 8 seconds after critting. This can stack up to 15 times for an additional 37.5%. As long as we can get at least 15 crits every 8 seconds, we max out the extra boost. Now by itself, Shield Whirl is kind of a mixed bag given its position so far down the skill tree. But combined with Domino Effect, Eraser, and Armor on Flint, all of which are crit skills at the bottom end of the purple tree, it can be part of a very effective build. We also get a nice little icon showing the number of stacks. Zane also gained the No Way Out augment to his shoulder cannon, which increases the cooldown of that action skill by 20%, in the same way that All Rounder increases his barrier cooldown. Okay. Amara gained Expedite and Combo Breaker. Now, Expedite is a tier 3 augment that conveys a plus 30% boost to action skill cooldown rate per enemy killed after we activate our action skill and until we activate our action skill again. This is very much designed around Phase Flare, which is a long duration skill that can be moved around the battlefield to damage and even kill multiple enemies. Now it can be used with other skills like Ties That Bind or any phase cast skill further down the blue tree. Any skill that can theoretically kill multiple enemies with one activation. Ties That Bind, however, is probably the best for this so long as we can link and kill multiple linked enemies before we kill the grasped enemy or the 7-second skill duration expires. The key though is stacking. If we can't kill at least 3 or 4 enemies with a single action skill activation, this is not necessarily worth the augment slot. It's very situational and build dependent. Okay. Combo Breaker is a tier 3 skill that grants a 20% chance to reset our action skill anytime we kill an enemy with a melee attack. It does not affect cooldown rate, it cancels cooldown, similar to Zane's Calm, Cool, and Collected. Now a properly spec'd melee build can do this easily when mobbing. It's much more difficult to do when bossing unless there are plenty of adds. Still, it only costs a single point in tier 3. And finally we have Flak, who only gained not even a challenge. Now this tier 4 skill boosts action skill duration and cooldown anywhere from 7 to 35% for 12 seconds for every enemy our pet kills during that 12 seconds, depending on how many points we allot to it. 7% for 1 point, 35% for the max 5 points. And it can stack up to 10 times. That's 350% if our pet can kill 10 enemies in 12 seconds or less. Now this is a kind of best of both worlds situations, at least during mobbing. It can extend action skill duration while the skill is active and reduce its cooldown when it's not. It's very much tailored to Gravity Snare and Gamma Burst, the 2 long duration action skills. The key factor here though is pet kills. This requires a pet focused or at least pet damaged emphasized build that has our pet killing enemies constantly. And again, that's more mobbing vice bossing focus. And the 2 perks, extended action skill duration and reduced cooldown, do not appear to overlap. Kills while active only extend the skill duration. Once the action skill ends, only kills during cooldown reduce the cooldown. Still, even just 2 or 3 kills can significantly reduce cooldown. I did a test in Slaughter Shaft with no other cooldown perks, including the Guardian rank, and 5 points in only this cooldown reducing skill. 3 pet kills during cooldown reduced Gamma Burst from 30 seconds to about 13 seconds cooldown. So as long as we have a pet focused build, 5 points in a tier 4 skill can be well worth the expenditure of the points. And that's it, unless I missed something, which is quite possible. If so, let me know in the comments below and I will do a part 3. Drop a like if you want, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Come check me out on twitchtv.com/SamuelGuyInHawaii. I stream at least 3 times a week. And as always, stay safe and thanks for watching.